Kirk is the only Star Trek captain we've seen in two Starship Enterprise successions. James T. Kirk's place in Star Trek history is already secure. He's the swashbuckling hero who helped make Star Trek a global phenomenon, the man who beat the Kobayashi Maru, and the captain whose combination of charm, risk-taking, and fierce loyalty defined an entire era of Starfleet storytelling. But there's one detail about Kirk that quietly sets him apart from every other captain in franchise history. He's the only Star Trek captain we've seen actually present for two different Enterprise successions. For all the years of Star Trek lore, ship upgrades, and captain swaps, succession on the USS Enterprise is rare to witness. More often, we hear about it after the fact, in logs, in flashbacks, or in passing references. But Kirk was there in person for the handoff not once, but twice. That makes him a unique figure in the franchise's depiction of Starfleet tradition, command heritage, and the symbolic passing of the torch from one crew to the next. The USS Enterprise succession line is a big deal in Star Trek. The name Enterprise is more than a ship registry, it's Starfleet's flagship brand, a symbol of exploration and excellence. Commanding one isn't just an assignment. It's a legacy role. Every time the Enterprise designation changes ships or captains, it represents a seismic moment for Star Trek lore. Starfleet successions for the Enterprise are about more than just the ceremonial. You have the con moment. They're moments that define the next chapter of Starfleet's history. When a new captain takes command, they inherit not just the crew, but the ship's symbolic weight, the mission logs, the diplomatic reputation, and the intangible sense of adventure that comes with the Enterprise's name. And yet Star Trek rarely shows us the handover. We almost never see the ceremonial side or even the informal good luck from the outgoing captain to the new one. Usually the change happens in between films, in a time skip, or in a different series altogether. That's what makes Kirk's appearances so rare and special. The first handover, from Pike to Kirk. The first Enterprise succession involving Kirk came at the very start of Star Trek, the original series, though depending on which canon you're looking at, it happens just before or during the earliest adventures we see. In franchise lore, Captain Christopher Pike commanded the Enterprise for over a decade before Kirk took over. We actually see part of Pike's command in The Cage, and in the Strange New Worlds retelling, where Pike leads the crew with a style and tone very different from Kirk's. But Kirk's entry is significant because it marks a clear tonal shift for Star Trek. Pike's thoughtful, often reluctant command gave way to Kirk's more aggressive, improvisational leadership. In the Kelvin Timeline reboot films, we even get to see a literal passing moment between Pike and Kirk. Bruce Greenwood's Pike acts as a mentor to Chris Pine's young Kirk, shaping his rise from rebellious cadet to captain. In Star Trek 2009, the ceremonial aspect is clear. Pike personally passes the captain's chair to Kirk, a gesture heavy with both in-universe meaning and meta-franchise symbolism. Pike is not only retiring from the Enterprise, he's handing the ship to a completely different kind of captain, ushering in a new era for the ship and its crew. This is the first time we witness Kirk in the position of the incoming captain, an ambitious young officer stepping into a legendary command role with the blessing of his predecessor. The second handover, from Kirk to Picard. If the first succession is about Kirk stepping into the Enterprise legacy, the second is about him stepping out of it, and doing so in a way no other captain has. In Star Trek, Generations 1994, Kirk is pulled into the story of the USS Enterprise B, commanded by Captain John Harriman, played by Alan Ruck. It's a ship shakedown cruise, intended to be ceremonial rather than dangerous, but of course, it turns deadly. The Enterprise B crew faces a crisis, and Kirk steps in to help. In the process, he's presumed killed in action. While this isn't exactly a formal, here's the keys to the ship moment, Kirk is very much present at the beginning of the Enterprise B's career. He witnesses its first voyage, interacts with its captain, and, in a symbolic way, participates in the handoff between the original Constitution-class era and the Excelsior-class future of the flagship. Then, decades later, in the same film, Kirk meets Jean-Luc Picard in the Nexus long after his time. Their partnership in stopping Dr. Sauron becomes an unofficial, almost spiritual, passing of the torch from one captain to another. While they never share a bridge in active service, The scene serves as the first and only on-screen crossover between two Enterprise captains from such different eras, one literally helping the other save a world. That's a different kind of succession, not a registry change, but a captaincy legacy being acknowledged face to face. Why Kirk's double succession is unique. Other Star Trek captains don't get both sides of this experience. Jean-Luc Picard never shares the screen with Robert April or Pike in his own era, and his meeting with Kirk happens after both their commands. Benjamin Sisko takes over Deep Space Nine with no prior commander around to welcome him. Catherine Janeway doesn't inherit Voyager from anyone, she takes command before the ship's first mission. Jonathan Archer is the very first captain of the NX-01. Even in Strange New Worlds, Pike knows his time is limited, but we haven't yet seen the exact moment of his handoff to Kirk. Kirk, though, is there for both the start of his own Enterprise era and the beginning of another captain's era. He experiences the tradition from both perspectives, as the ambitious newcomer taking command of a legendary ship, and as the elder statesman watching the next generation set sail. It's a narrative symmetry that makes Kirk feel like a living bridge in Star Trek history, someone who not only defines his own era, but also links others together in a way no one else has on screen. What these moments say about Kirk as a character, there's something deeply Kirk about being present at both of these moments. When he takes command from Pike, Kirk is bold, untested in some ways, and willing to gamble big, a contrast to Pike's steadier style. This moment tells us that Starfleet sometimes needs a radical shift in leadership style to meet new challenges. It also sets up the tone for the original series, high adventure, faster pacing, and risk-taking that borders on reckless. When Kirk meets the Enterprise B crew, he's no longer that brash young captain. He's older, more reflective, and at least partly aware that his time as the galaxy's leading man might be over. But even here, his instincts push him to act, to help the new crew when they're in trouble, to be the one who steps into danger. The fact that he dies temporarily saving the Enterprise again reinforces his lifelong commitment to the ship and what it stands for. Both moments reveal Kirk's defining quality. He's never just an observer. Even in a ceremonial role, he can't stop himself from getting involved, from making sure the Enterprise and its crew survive whatever comes next. The meta-franchise significance. From a storytelling perspective, these successions are also meta-commentary on Star Trek's evolution. When Pike hands the ship to Kirk in canon, or in the Kelvin films, it's the franchise signaling that it's entering a new phase, from the cautious optimism of the 1960s pilot to the action-driven, character-centric style that defined the series for decades. When Kirk stands on the bridge of the Enterprise B, it's a literal and